It's Thursday, September 29th, 2022, and this is FRCMedia News. I'm Keith Tebow. With energy rates scheduled to rise sharply this winter, Citizens for Citizens is ready to launch its fuel assistance program. Catholic Social Services in Fall River is aiding in the support of the migrants that were transported to Martha's Vineyard. And Greater Fall River Recreation is back with its senior social. All this and more coming up. With local utility companies announcing excessive rate increases this winter, Citizens for Citizens is in the midst of accepting applications for its seasonal fuel assistance program. National Grid last week announced that it would hike electric rates some 64% beginning on November 1st. CFC's Deputy Director Grant Patterson says his agency is preparing for what may be an increased winter of need for many Fall River residents.
Probably what this will mean is there'll be more interest in the program or more participation in the program. For Fall River, Citizens for Citizens has one of the largest field programs in the state for a CAP agency, and we already have out over 15,000 applications. You're talking about the increase in electric. Regardless, it might not be a primary heat source. Electric is not as much of a primary heat source for our clients as deliverable fuels such as oil or propane or gas, obviously. But that's all in the energy costs of the home. So any, rise like that, but we're also expecting, similar increases in gas. As you mentioned, natural gas prices. We know that oil has gone up almost 66% from last year. It's a real burden, complete energy burden on our clients.
Liberty Utilities, which provides natural gas service that heats many homes in Fall River, said this summer that its increase will likely be near or over 40%. Mr. Patterson says those who are enrolled in the fuel assistance program will also qualify for electric rate relief and other energy cost saving measures.
The benefits to being on the fuel program, aside from monetary, is the discounts that are given when you're eligible for our program. You're automatically eligible for the discounts through the public utilities. So let's say you have gas, you heat with gas, you have Ngrid or Eversource as your electric, you're going to get a 25% discount from Liberty, and you're going to get up to 37% with Ngrid, probably something similar, a little less with Eversource. So those discounts come out to a lot of money, especially in the area like this, where we're seeing rising, rates and energy sources. Unfortunately, these discounts will counteract the increases, but still, think of how important that is, and the benefits almost can mirror what your monetary benefit is for your primary heating.
Congress is deciding how much money will be available in fuel assistance this winter, with additional funding expected from the state. Mr. Patterson says the income guidelines for those who is eligible to receive fuel assistance has risen this year.
We have had years, last year, the amount of people we service, it's probably stabilized, but we have the ability to serve a lot more, and we'll never turn anybody away from applying for our program. I like to reference a family of 5 being eligible. The eligibility guidelines went up to almost 95,000 annually. So you're really talking about, the lower middle classes all the way down to people in extreme need. So you're really servicing a lot of people, a wide range of people. And we always say, if you think you're on the edge of this, if you think, even if you think there's no way I could be eligible for this, visit our website, look at the guidelines that are listed on there. You might be surprised.
Fuel assistance will be available beginning November 1st through April 30th. Residents have the option to file their application in person at CFC's 264 Griffin Street headquarters, over the phone at 508-679-0041, or online at cfcinc.org. When 48 Venezuelan migrants were flown to Martha's Vineyard 2 weeks ago, Catholic Social Services in Fall River was one of the partner organizations to provide humanitarian support. Executive Director Susan Mazzarella says once she received word of the arrival, she immediately contacted Diocese of Fall River Bishop Edgar Acuna and recruited staff to meet with the migrants after they were transported to Joint Base Cape Cod.
because Martha's Vineyard and the Cape is in the catchment area of the Diocese of Fall River, that's why we were involved. And so we were there and provided clothing, because when they came, they just were wearing shorts and t-shirts and attire from Martha's Vineyard. One of the 2-year-olds had a giant stuffed shark. So we provided sweatpants and underwear and some toiletries and some cell phones. And I had one of our immigration attorneys come, and we had 2 staff who speak Spanish. And some of the MEMA staff who were doing the initial intakes did not speak Spanish. So one of my staff sat with MEMA to intake every one of those people and was able to translate.
Ms. Mazzarella says Catholic Social Services remains available to meet the specific needs of the migrants.
We are available to assist with areas that maybe other entities can't assist with. So depending on where folks are choosing to go. Some might want to go to New York, some might want to go to a different part of the country, they may have friends or family there. As an entity, we're able to pay for plane tickets or bus tickets, anything that could help transition them to a more permanent setting. The other component that we're available to help with is shelter, because I know the state is trying to see if there are any shelter vacancies for individual shelters or family shelters, because in so doing, folks would be able to receive case management, which is more intensive. And we have contracts with the state for individual shelters and also family shelters. So we're available for that if the DHCD is trying to move folks into the shelter system.
Ms. Mazzarella says the organization has a long tradition of helping immigrants transition to their new country.
One of the programs that I'm very, very proud of through Catholic Social Services, Catholic Charities, is our immigration department. And we have 4 immigration attorneys, and they work with folks seeking asylum, like these migrants coming from Venezuela, the DACA youth, and work toward establishing citizenship legally. And so that is how we support any immigrants coming into our area, and also with basic needs. So we receive clothing donations, toiletry donations. We actually do accept only new donations. And we utilize them not just for our immigrant population, but for our homeless population, because we run many, many shelters. So it really is to try to, all of our services are geared at helping people have their basic needs met and try to stay healthy and stabilized.
Catholic Social Services is accepting donations in support of the Venezuelan migrants and anyone within their service area in need of basic support. You can find out more at their website at cssdioc.org. We're continuing a look now at some of the candidates and issues you can expect to see on the November 8th state election. Republican Anthony Amore hopes to use his 30 years of experience as a public investigator, auditor, and investigator in his role as the next state auditor. He says as the state's chief accountability officer, he will create a waste prevention unit to weed out government inefficiencies. He feels that in a time when inflation remains high, keeping state government spending in check will lessen the burden on state taxpayers.
At all of this time, the blue-collar workers of Fall River are seeing their salaries, their real wages, decreasing. So there's this massive gap between what they can afford and what they have to spend. What I think is, and what they're bringing in, and what I think is important is that the auditor really realize when he's doing or she's doing their work that the tax dollars of these individuals are so precious, because this is money they can't spend on groceries or car payments or rent. They can't spend on their kids' school clothes, etc. So I think that the people that feel it the most should be the most important people to the auditor, because it's their livelihood. It's their money that's being spent. And if it's being wasted, someone needs to blow the whistle on that, and I'm the person that knows how to do it.
Mr. Mori says he supports giving excess revenue collected during the past year back to taxpayers and feels more savings can be realized by taking a close look at how the auditor's office has been run in recent years.
The auditor's office has to perform audits of every state agency every 3 years, and they're not meeting that goal. In fact, the current auditor, who's stepping down in January, has told the media that she misses by about 30%. So only 70% of the agencies are getting audited. She said it's because there's not adequate pay for the auditors. I wonder about that because I know she's never really sought an increase in the budget. So I'm concerned about what's going on in the auditor's office. So the first step is to bring in a completely independent audit team to look at the auditor's office and see what's going wrong and fix it right away. And then step two, audit the unaudited agencies, because you, the viewers, the taxpayers, need to know how your tax dollars are being spent. And right now, we don't know about 30% of the agencies. So this is a problem.
Mr. Mori will face Democratic Senator Diana DeZoglio, Green Rainbow Party candidate Gloria Caballero Roca, Workers' Party candidate Dominic Giannone III, and Libertarian candidate Daniel Reich on November 8th. Senator DeZoglio says she would like to conduct an audit of the state legislature. Mr. Amore says he agrees, but doing so will not be easy.
You can say you want to audit organizations, but if you don't have the authority, the day you go to do the audit and you ask them to open the books, they just say no. And how do you do the audit? You have to work towards getting the authority. You need enabling legislation, right? And we don't have that right now. It wasn't just Suzanne Bump, it was Joe DiNucci before her, who was the auditor for 28 years. Both of them said you don't have the authority. And I think it's great. I would love to audit the legislature. The way it works in Massachusetts now is they audit themselves, and the public is not privy to the results of those audits because they're not subject to public records requests. That's an abomination. We're the only state in the country where the executive, the judicial, and the legislative are exempt from public records. That needs to change. So I would work towards getting the enabling legislation to audit the legislature.
Among his other priorities, Mr. Amore would like to take a look at spending at the state's colleges and universities, and he'd also like to put a pause on providing driver's license to undocumented individuals until the Registry of Motor Vehicles has the procedures in place to meet those requests. Mr. Amore is the only statewide Republican candidate to receive the endorsement of outgoing Governor Charlie Baker. He feels his moderate views on the issues will be the positive checks and balances needed against what may be a Democratic sweep of the other constitutional offices.
We have the same view of government. We believe that you have to be hard on problems and soft on people. We both believe that government shouldn't be about passions, butting heads, and finger pointing, and ideologies clashing all the time. It should be about delivering good government to the people of Massachusetts, because that's what your viewers want. They have no interest in hearing me or anyone else argue with other politicians. They just want to know, is their family safe? Can they put food on the table? Can they keep a roof over their heads? Will their children get a good education? Will they age with dignity as they get older? These are the things they care about, not this finger pointing and these political arguments that seemingly have no end. So Governor and I are on the same page with this. And finally, as he said, he believes I'm the most qualified person to run for auditor.
We're also speaking with the proponents and opponents of the referendum questions on the ballot. Question 1 will seek a change to the state constitution to raise the income tax by 4% on those who earn more than $1 million. The legislature passed the measure to be placed on the ballot, with the money collected to go toward funding public education, public colleges and universities, and the repair and maintenance of roads, bridges, and public transportation. Dan Sensi represents the Coalition to Stop the Tax Hike Amendment and is urging voters to vote no on question 1. He says the tax hike will not target just those who are in the upper tier of income earners.
This is a middle-class tax hike. We have lobstermen, we have fishermen who are in our coalition. You'll see them all in our ads. Many of the folks in the Fall River area have worked in shipping and worked in fishing, and they know what it's like to own a small business. and to have to hire people and to invest in their own. And then many of them in that area have also seen their housing that maybe they bought 20, 30, 40 years ago be worth a considerable amount of money more now, and they're ready to retire. 95% of all residents in Massachusetts, their greatest asset is their home, and that's no different in the South Coast as well. So I would offer that and ask them to vote no on question 1.
Mr. Sensi says that even if the measure passes, it's not guaranteed that the excess money will be allocated to education and infrastructure.
One big misnomer to this tax hike amendment is that it will increase spending in education and transportation, and that is not true. There is a major part of our Constitution that limits subject to appropriation relative to any funds raised. So yes, if funds are raised through this tax hike, it will go towards transportation and education, but no, it will not increase it. And any of the increased monies that come in will be subject to the appropriation of the legislature, and politicians can spend it any way they see fit.
The opponents to question 1 also believe the tax increase will greatly impact small businesses across the state, many of whom do not identify themselves as being wealthy.
The lion's share of small businesses here in Massachusetts are what's called LLCs, limited liability corporations, or small S corporations. And what happens with those is they're offered the corporate veil, but the income taxes fall back all the way down to the owner, 100%. So each and every year, when they do their taxes, and corporations do their taxes in March, and they don't finish their books from December until January, February. So they would probably have 15 days to figure out all the investment they were going to do for the entire year or pay taxes on that money. And it's just not fair. It's not a way to inspire better salaries for their employees, bonuses, investments in technology, growth, and potential to have their business grow throughout the state.
Mr. Sensi says because if passed, the tax hike will become part of the state's constitution, it will be difficult to have it overturned.
It takes 4 years. It takes 2 constitutional conventions. We're trying to mess with the Constitution that John Adams himself wrote and has seen fit and worked for us for over 250 years. So it's doing pretty well to this point. There's also been 5 other efforts in the last 40 years to attempt to graduate the income tax in one way, shape, or form. And all 5 times the voters of Massachusetts have voted no on those and turned them down by over 2-1. And we see no reason why that isn't going to be the case this year.
Between now and Election Day, you can find out who's on the ballot in Fall River and view our complete interviews with the candidates by visiting our special Election 22 page at our website, frmedia.org. We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Local delivery driver. Dakin Comfort Technologies Distribution Incorporated is looking for a full-time local delivery driver to load, unload, and deliver product to customer sites within designated time frames using the most efficient routes as possible. Job number 175-84791. Senior Human Resources Assistant. Amazon, located at 1180 Innovation Way, is urgently looking for a full-time senior human resources assistant to support associates and managers with routine day-to-day HR questions, needs, and inquiries. Job number 175-74381. Foreman. Boston Max Construction Incorporated, located at 161 Quikasham Street, is seeking a full-time foreman to supervise a team of construction workers to ensure that work is completed safely and according to project specifications. Job number 175-83778. Task Force General Manager. First Bristol Corporation, located at 10 North Main Street, is looking for a full-time task force general manager. For more information, call 508-679-1180. Blount Fine Foods, located at 630 Current Road, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Chief Financial Officer, job number 175-87915. Product Packaging, job number 175-87918. For more information about these or other positions, visit MassHire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the MassHire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Bristol Community College hosted a traveling display this week that focuses on ending the stigma around mental health and preventing suicide. Send Silence Packing is an exhibit that aims to visually depict to students the impact of suicide and the importance of seeking help. It's run by Active Minds, an organization dedicated to devising suicide prevention resources for young people.
Basically what it is a traveling display of backpacks, and each of the backpacks represents a student or a young person, college student or a young person who has died by suicide. And you'll notice a lot of the backpacks have photos and stories written on them, which have been donated by the families who have lost someone. It's pretty powerful, pretty impactful. We've had many students who were very involved in this display, spent quite a bit of time here, and others who were really uncomfortable by it. And that's something we find as well and didn't really want to take the time to walk through. So for those types of students, we just hope that they are hearing the message and know that there are resources here and available to them, which, as you can see, as you're just walking by, is pretty apparent.
Ms. Apicerno, a mental health counselor at Bristol, says college students are at the age when they begin to experience mental health challenges.
It goes without saying that the pandemic has increased a lot of those issues for people. So an event like this is really designed to sort of start conversations for people. And what we do know is that emerging adults and adolescents, young people, are, the traditional college student age population sort of fits right in that bracket of when we're really starting to see a lot of emerging mental health issues. So reaching that population can be really important, but I think just sort of as a community, creating a solid foundation where we are comfortable having conversations about mental health and about suicide is really important. So an event like Send Silence Packing really does that in a really powerful way.
Ms. Apicerno says it's important for those who feel they are in distress to know that it's normal and they should not feel embarrassed to seek professional help. After a summer break, Greater Fall River Recreation resumed its senior social event last week, where upwards of 60 seniors enjoyed a free lunch, a live band, and dancing.
We just wanted them to come out and have a good time and socialize with their friends or make new friends. Since we've renovated the building and we have our gym, we decided to bring it back.
For those in attendance, it was a chance to get acquainted with peers and remember a lifestyle that existed many years ago.
Everybody's happy. I love the music. I love the band. Having the live band is what makes it really special. And the last time we came, they actually had a special guest who actually played with
Tony Bennett.
And the music's just great. It just reminds me of my parents' time, actually. But we do the ballroom dancing, so it's a good time for us to practice without, being in a dance at night with, lots of people. So
I think it's fine. I think it's fun, but for some odd reason, both my sister and I, even though we're in our 80s, we kind of seem we're in the very younger 80s.
If you look around, most of these people are on the dance floor enjoying it. It's their kind of music, their kind of good times. And we used to do that as teenagers, but we had a lot more places to go to. And it's nice that the city is doing this for the seniors because you can see they're really enjoying it.
Getting on the dance floor also provided attendees with the chance to stay active.
It keeps your mind sharp, keeps you fresh, and then the exercise. I mean, you work up a sweat with some of the dances that we do.
I don't care how rusty you are. Come on out and just... Right. Get rid of those cobwebs and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, oil up the knees, know.
Yeah. His hip's bothering him right now, so we're kind of slow.
But I'm pushing.
Greater Fall River Recreation plans to hold 2 more senior socials this fall, one on October 21st and another on November 18th, Both are Fridays and will run from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. The event is free, but registration is required. You can call Greater Fall River Recreation at 508-679-0922. We will wrap up this edition of FRC Media News right after this.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today with us we have Tilly. She is a female, roughly 4 years old. She is a very sweet cat. I know sometimes she has the crabby face, but don't let that fool you. She's a very sweet girl. I think she would do better in a quieter home, maybe with older kids, maybe teenagers. I don't think she would do well with younger kids around. I feel like she would be a good little lap cat, especially if it's in a quieter environment. I think if you're sitting on the couch or your chair, she'll hop up right on your lap and want to be pet. She is very easygoing, super sweet. She would love a forever home to go to. I guarantee she'll make you very happy. If you're interested in her, please fill out an application and give us a call to come meet her, because I know she'd love to meet you. Today with us we have Oliver. He is roughly an 8-month-old American Lab. He's still a very decent size. He's probably not going to stop growing until he's a little over 2 years old. He is the stereotypical Lab, so he's very energetic, he's happy-go-lucky, he's super friendly. He loves to go for walks. He would probably do better in an active home. I wouldn't say you need to own your own home, but if you like to go for long walks, if you like to hike, go on adventures, he would definitely make a good hiking partner. Or even it would be even better too if you had a big yard and he could run around. I would say he should probably be in a home with kids 12 and up. He does need some basic training. He is very intelligent, so he does pick up on things very quickly. So if you'd like to come down and meet Oliver, I know he'd love to meet you. In order to come meet him, you do need to have an approved app. We do have applications that you can fill out right on our website as well. Definitely don't hesitate, because I know Oliver would love to meet you.
That'll wrap up this edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website at frmedia.org for all the latest news and local information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Thursday.